modimo ampawa hai moya o halalela ang thoma lefatsheng lena ka morero le sepheo ka moo ampha batswadi ba lerato ke motlotlo ka bona ba mpontsha tsela ba ntataisa ba nsupisa mo nneteng teng ba re ho nna o tla fisha mo yang teng ba re nna le nna ke tla fisha mo ke yang teng le nna ke tla fisha mo ke yang teng le nna.
We didn't pray. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please stand for the national anthem? Good evening and welcome. You can sit down. We're not at the top, we're at the back. Hello, gents. How are you? Very good to see you. No partners I see tonight? No, she's not there. She's not there.
Is
Happy?
James wearing local?
Are you wearing local? We'll come back here.
If he's not, we'll ask him to leave very politely. Who else do you see there, Debbie?
There's a lovely lady here. We just quickly take the selfie, and then I need to check. Hello, how are you? You look beautiful. That's local, right?
Yes, it is.
And who did it for you?
So I bought it at an African shop
It's beautiful.
years ago.
Very nice, very nice. It's lovely, lovely, lovely. All
let
the
me-
ladies here shining on this table. On your side, Happy?
I
Mostly
see
fellas,
the
I
TFG
see.
group, our friends from TFG, all the way from the Cape. Hey, Graham. How are you? And this suit, you made it yourself?
Yes, of course.
Okay, there's a guy with a plan. Makes his own suit. Lovely to see you, everybody. Who else is there, Debbie?
Oh no, there's a very good-looking gentleman
Woo,
here.
woo.
I saw him very early. You look amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did not make that yourself. And who are you dressed by?
Remu, also local.
Well done. Just let's see the label for proof of life. Well done. Well done. Your side happy?
Let me pick on somebody. No one wants to give me eye contact. May I see your label of origin, ma'am? Are you wearing local? Of course you are. If you are not, we will just ask security to escort you because you don't know where you are. We are local and we like it. Debbie, do your thing over there.
Oh, I got the big fish here.
Oh.
Hello, Minister. How are you? You're looking very well. Busy day in court, I saw today, but looking very good. Looking very, very, very good. Yep. I'll circle back later. We've got lots to talk about. Okay. So the localization dinner, how cool. Most of them wearing local. You and I wearing local.
I'm not convinced. I want proof of life.
Later.
Later.
Let's just do
And
it
when we do find those people, you will chase them, right?
Oh, you know
You know
me.
she chases groups. We will chase them. So thank you so much. Welcome to the localization dinner brought to you by Proudly South Africa. And that deserves a big round of applause.
This is the first
Oh,
dinner.
so Dr. John Kani. Yeah, the king of Wakanda.
Yes, hello, sir. Oh, Doctor, sir. Because he's everybody. He's everything to everybody.
Exactly.
We both also dressed local, of course, by Otis.
Yes, local designer Otis, who does amazing work. And for that, if you don't clap for us, because we know we look good, we will clap for ourselves.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me tell you, it was there's a decided reason why they put the chicks in charge for tonight. I just want to let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we get things going without a doubt.
Exactly.
And can I just say something very quickly before Happy does the next introduction? Thank you so much for looking so happy to see me. I never get that in a hurry. It's really like a serious big deal. Happy, on to you.
All righty, but we never told them who we are. Come back.
They know who we are.
They know who you are. They haven't got the foggiest idea who I am.
Everybody knows who you are, Happy.
I'm happy, pun intended. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Welcome to the Proudly South African Localization Dinner. A big thank you to our sponsors tonight, Southern Sun, our host, SA South African Breweries for the beverages, Coca-Cola South Africa for the beverages, and BLSA for being our partner tonight. We have a lot in store for you. We hope you have a local and a lekker time. And so without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to welcome onto the stage the chairperson of Proudly South African, Mr. Howard Gabriels.
There's a voice that is calling, loudly calling, day by day, the voice of the future.
When I started my business, all I wanted was to create jobs and a legacy for the next generation, because I see opportunity when others see impossibility.
It all started with a thought and then a seed in the garden, which grew into my very own farm that feeds the whole nation daily.
Cotton silk and a little bit of treasure, I create masterpieces that give South Africans an identity, comfort and confidence, because when you look good, you feel good.
From the factory workers to the warehouse and then over the seas, I want to show the world what proudly South African looks like. It all started with just some ink on paper and inspiration to bring people together. With my furniture, I now help create spaces that are beautiful, comfortable, and authentic to human light and connection.
I've always been driven by curiosity. It fueled my dreams to create automobiles that accelerate our nation into greater possibilities and the beauty of the unknown.
I was born into a rainbow nation. My life has been full of colors and mixed flavors. And when I started my bakery, I wanted to share the joy with the world and with South Africans in particular.
All I ever dreamt of was to be a bird and fly high. And now I have the wings to help others fulfill their dreams of flying high too.
But it can only be a dream until you make it a reality. All they need is your faith, your trust, your loyalty, your appreciation.
And most importantly,
Your support.
because supporting local businesses
helps create jobs
and secures our future.
South Africa, their future is in your hands. So what are you going to do about it? Be proudly South African. Buy local to create jobs.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a real pleasure to welcome you to this very important dinner tonight. And I believe that we're going to have a very good time here tonight. Before I acknowledge anyone, I have an apology from the President, who was called away late this afternoon to another important commitment that was unplanned. And the President has asked Minister Patel to attend on his behalf tonight, and also asked Minister Patel to read his speech that was prepared by the President. So I really want to thank Minister Patel for being here. I know he was originally planned to be here, but really thank you for stepping into the big shoes. So when I acknowledge the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, it gives me great pleasure, because this is a long journey we walked together from the days when both of us were trade unionists in the clothing and textile industry, where we believed that a Buy Local campaign could in fact make a major contribution in securing the livelihoods of clothing workers and also the businesses in the clothing and textile sectors. So Minister, really welcome tonight, and thank you for your support. I have seen that throughout the room, a number of our board members are present. That is the board of Proudly South Africa. Please talk to them. Please ask them all the difficult questions so that I'll be spared the difficult questions. But they are spread throughout the room, and really grateful for the support of our board members, not only in this important event, but throughout the year and in the times when we are not in the public eye. And then we have our patron here tonight, Dr. Kani. Thank you very much for gracing us with your presence. I think we should really give him a hand of... We are really, really proud of the support you have given us over the years. So really welcome here tonight. And then I'd like to acknowledge the chairperson of BLSA, Ms. Nonkululeko Nyembezi, and more generally, the leadership of the business community is very well represented in this room tonight. We thank you for the support of your organization and also on behalf of the broader business community. There are a few labor leaders present here tonight from COSATU, from FEDUSA, and also NACTU. And then there are a few leaders from the community-based organizations, which is an important constituency that we as Proudly SA work with in the civic associations and the civic movements, as well as the churches. These are important partners in spreading the message to the broader community to buy local, to support the local campaign. And then, last but not least, and sometimes I feel I should reverse this order and start there, to Mr. Eustace Mashimbi, the executive team, the CEO of Proudly SA and the executive team. What we have witnessed over the last 2 days is testament to the work you are doing. And I know many people think that we run such a massive ship, but a large part of this conference are actually done by the in-house staff of Proudly SA. And I want you to acknowledge their contribution by giving them a hand. To the serious part of tonight's business, and I'm not going to steal the thunder of the President's speech, but to build and rebuild this economy requires a partnership between the major stakeholders in our society. And that is really what we are trying to do within the Proudly SA campaign. We work with the businesses, we work with building partnerships, and a big feature of this summit and Expo this year has been that matchmaking between the smaller businesses and the larger businesses and the retailers. So this year, I'm really proud that we had 216 exhibitors on the floor. We had more than 400 buyers from many of these businesses walking this. And I've been told that we don't have the full tally of meetings that materialized, but there were some 700 meetings set up between buyers and entrepreneurs that were exhibiting here over the 2 days. And that really is a very big shift and new innovation that our team has brought into this year's event. The big challenge for us is to keep on with this fight, to keep on doing what we're doing, and to not let on, as that young child said in the ad, let my dream become a reality. And that is in a way in all of our hands. It is also in the hands of our consumers that we are agitating that they should be more activist and ask you in your retail stores and wherever else, where is the South African-made goods? So, putting on an event of this nature over the 2 days require quite important support. And I really want to use this opportunity to thank our sponsors. The sponsors are the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, the Department of Small Business Development, and with both these government departments, we have done really wonderful work over the year and also over these 2 days. And then in the private sector, I want to thank ABSA for the sponsorship of this event. We want to thank Southern Sun. When I spoke yesterday morning, I said at the board level, we're beginning to talk about Sandton Convention Center as the home of the Buy Local Summit and Expo. So really thank you for your support. South African Breweries has been a loyal supporter over years. Sasol as well, Coca-Cola Beverages, South Africa, Telkom, F&B, South 32, Lactalis, Nestle, Brand South Africa, Take a Lot, and Naspers. Without your support, we won't be able to do an event of this nature. And really, we appreciate that the support from our private sector partners has really been growing over the years. And I've asked our team to begin this conversation almost as soon as we have packed up so that we work with you in developing the program for next year. Proudly South Africa is a partnership. It is holding hands together. And with that, I hope that as we take each other's hands tonight and listen to the kind of commitments different companies are making in this campaign, that we will lay that foundation for building an economy that will be growing, where jobs will be created, and where we will build sustainable communities that can thrive. So with those words, I really want to welcome you all and thank you, and introduce to you tonight the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, who for about 20 minutes will act in the President's place for tonight. Thank you.
Busisiwe Mavuso is known as the Iron Lady of South Africa's business sector. She's been called unruly, I'm quoting directly, unbecoming, but in my books, she's one of our North Stars for her willingness to call out the truth and for boldly speaking that truth to power. A lady after my own heart. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Busisiwe Mavuso, CEO, Business Leadership, South Africa.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Devi, for that wonderful introduction. I don't agree with the unruly part, and if I'm in any way unruly tonight, especially it's because I'm sitting next to Lungi Safuzile there, my board member, so he's responsible for Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Honorable Minister of the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, Mr. Ibrahim Patel, Chairman of Proudly South Africa, Mr. Howard Gabriels, my chairman of BLSA, Ms. Nonkululeko Nyembezi, CEO of Proudly South Africa, Mr. Eustace Mashimbe, Dr. John Kani, patron of the Proudly South African, esteemed members of the business community, organized labor and civil society, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and all protocols observed in case I've forgotten to mention anyone. So my role here tonight is a very minimal one, which is that of lending support as big business to the localization agenda. And as it will be evident tonight, we do not only lend our support as big business in words. We only lend our support through our actions. We also lend our support through our pockets, as we will be paying homage to the many companies who have committed to the localization agenda. But tonight is not only about celebrating these achievements, it is also about committing to redoubling our efforts around a common goal, which is the goal of growing our economy for the benefit of all South Africans. Business has for years been active participants in the localization agenda, and we know that it has a vital role to play in our socio-economic development and in these times of global supply chain disruptions. More inwardly focused value chains provide a better foundation for economic sustainability. So business fully lends its support to the localization agenda, and yes, we are currently doing a lot. But I really think that business can do more, and we want to do more as the business community, and we will do more. But unfortunately, Minister, despite our best efforts as the business community and despite our best intentions, the localization agenda is under serious threat. It is under serious threat due to the current difficult trading environment that businesses find themselves in during this time in South Africa. And this is mainly because of the failure of network industries in the main. It has been concerning to note just how many companies have cited the challenges posed by our trading environment as a serious impediment. It was very interesting for me listening to the many annual results presentations, not only in 2024, but going back to 2023 again. And it was interesting how many companies are citing how difficult the trading environment is in South Africa at the moment. I was listening to Remgro's last week, and I'm only mentioning Remgro's because it's the most recent. I was listening to Remgro, and Remgro as a cornerstone of corporate South Africa posted a significant drop in earnings as a direct result of the trading environment. And I'm just citing Remgro, as I'm saying, as a recent example. But there have been a lot of companies that are actually citing similar challenges as a result, or rather as a cause for why the economy is where it is at the moment. And interestingly enough, one newspaper article's headline last week said, "Even our strongest soldiers are starting to wane due to South Africa's severe economic pressure." So that is what business in this country is facing today. So if our focus is to create an industrial base that is robust enough to support localization, then a conducive trading environment is a non-negotiable. As things stand, we run the risk of becoming a far smaller economy of fewer economically active citizens with ever more expensive imports serving the needs of a shrinking middle class. I will, however, acknowledge, Minister, because it will be disingenuous of me not to, that government has done their best. And I'd like to note the visible and very strong commitment that government has been showing to the reform agenda. And the achievements that have been recently attained in this regard are very encouraging. From the implementation of the Trusted Employer Scheme on the work visa front, to the Cabinet's approval of the Transport and Logistics Roadmap, to Minister Ramokgopa's announcement yesterday that the National Transmission Company of South Africa's unbundling has secured lender consent, as well as his confidence that the ERA bill will most likely be passed before the conclusion of the 6th administration. We applaud these efforts, Minister, as well as government's willingness to partner with business in fixing all these problems. We are making progress, not fast enough, but we are making progress nevertheless, and we will continue to do so. I know the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition is working diligently to play a role in stimulating the economy through a plethora of interventions, including the various master plans for critical manufacturing sectors. Minister, we applaud the responsiveness to changing dynamics exhibited by the department and government more broadly. For example, in the recently announced incentive scheme for investments in hydrogen and electric-powered vehicles. And as the market changes, so must our policies, and we must always be alert to the opportunities to position our country proactively. And in closing, let me take this opportunity to applaud, as you said, Chairman of Proudly SA, to applaud the tireless efforts of all the social partners, as well as the efforts of Eustace and the Proudly South African team. And thank you for your tireless efforts, Eustace, and noble efforts in promoting local manufacturing. You may rest assured that you have a very willing and enthusiastic supporter of your efforts in the big business community. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
this on now. Thank you so much, Busi. Can you imagine if Busi, Mavuso, and Devi collaborated on a new television show called Fixing the Country? Busi is the fierce one. She will go and, no. Devi will chase them. When she finds them, she will pass them on to Busi. Busi will discipline them. Then our problems are over in the country. That's an idea, Devi. Any television producer here, there's an idea for a show. Thank you so much, Busi. Well, greatly appreciated. And now, you're going to hear from a special friend of the campaign, Dr. Sir Bonisile Gani, who has been our friend for the longest time. In fact, there's a story behind the relationship between Proudly South African and Dr. Gani. It turns out that 22 years ago, when Madiba started Proudly South African, and Tim Modise was the chairperson of Proudly South African, the MC for that particular event went AWOL. At least tonight's MCs are here. We did show up. We got up, dressed up, and show up. That deserves it. Amen. I'm struggling here. Work with me, please. As it is, I've got a very difficult name to live up to. My parents and the Lord trapped me, and they named me Happy. So work with me, please. And so, Dr. Gani, you will know the story. The MC went AWOL. Bra Tim gave you a call and said, Bra Gani, where are you? And you said, I'm on set. And Bra Tim said, I need you. You dropped everything. You went to the event, and you MC'd the very first event, or the launch, rather, of the Buy Local campaign in South Africa. And so tonight, we're going to hear from you just a few words about the support that you've given Proudly South African. And you didn't bring your granddaughter with you tonight, Dr. Gani. The one who wants to see your picture with Beyonce. So Dr. Gani is on set in New York with Bruce Willis and Beyonce and all of those people. And he's there for 6 months. He comes back home, and his granddaughter says, so Granddad, you were with Beyonce? And he says, yes. Really? On set? Yes. You saw her changing room. Like, you saw it? Yes. Did she bring Jay-Z? Yes. But where's the picture, Granddad? And Dr. Gani says, well, Beyonce didn't ask me for a picture. Dr. Gani, please come take your rightful seat as the king of Wakanda. And there's an exception. You don't go speak at the podium, you sit here and speak. May we have a mic, please?
It's game time, Zanzibar.
Thank you. Minister, welcome, and thank you for being here. Distinguished guests, chairpersons of all organizations. This is what is called, as a soldier, pick up your gun and go fight. I was not aware of the fact that I would be saying anything. But the truth is that all of us have one dream, a strong economy that creates jobs, that gives the dignity of work to our people, and especially to the ever-growing pool of young people graduating, passing, and getting into this business and economy, and they have no jobs. You cannot speak of dignity and integrity. You cannot speak of sensitivity and humanity if the person doesn't have a job. You have to understand that in order for me to behave as a decent person, I need a job. When I have a job, I could build a house. When I have a house, I could have a wife in that order. And I could have children. And I am proud because I am a provider, and my wife is the supreme provider. In that way, we then see ourselves as citizens and useful citizens in the community. We see ourselves as human beings that have something to contribute. You take away the job, you take away my dignity, you take away my humanity, you take away my self-worth, my self-understanding. And when I do things that I have to survive, you have the guts to call me a criminal. But these things are part of the socioeconomic nightmares that young people face every day. I was talking to Happy and I was saying, proudly South African. And I asked myself, then what does it say to me? What does proudly South African to me mean? Well, then she explains it. She says, no, it means if you buy local made product, you will then create a demand for that product, which will increase the people who are making the product, which will mean that it will create more jobs. And that's how then our economy would grow. And I said, then why don't you say that? Because in Proudly South African, I'm a very proud native. Oh my God, I'm very proud. So that's enough for me. But there is no imperative action in this word that says I have to do something in order to be proudly South African. And I said we need an indaba, in English, a bosberat, to find out which way we can actually say, there's a man in America, I hardly would be honored to quote him. He says, let's make America great. What he actually means is let's make America white again. But everybody can read the subtext, can read that message. Let's make America great again. And I just want to say to everybody in the room, let's get South Africa working. Let's create. Let us create jobs. Because when we create jobs, it grows the economy. Can we say that to a person who is understanding that this is my responsibility? There's a fantastic thing now happening in Hollywood. We now wear our traditional African, or wherever you come from, that whole business of long gowns designed by Versace and all the Chanel and Dior is fading out. I'm wearing Sun Goddess. Therefore, if we commit, as wonderful, my beautiful sister said, we commit, we are determined, we're going to grow this economy, Minister. We are going to grow this economy. If it means that we must nationalize all companies and stop imports into the country until the manufacturing sector, the mining sector, and all business in South Africa gets to a very strong place, then we will see what we can bring in if we can't make it. Then we will grow the economy. We cannot depend on imports. We've been told that a country that has a larger export activity, its economy is strong. Then we're told again that a country that imports a large things into their country, it ties itself to the whims and rules of those that make the product outside. Therefore, in order to reclaim South Africa, to reclaim our country, our people, our industries, our businesses, it's upon us to make just a little intelligent choice. Make a decision, I'm buying this, is it made in South Africa? Isn't that easy, really? Where's this one made? Including the boerewors. including the chicken when you go to a store. It's the only way if we are proud and proud enough to identify ourselves with this beautiful country called South Africa. Thank you.
The second half is about to begin. We need to change the scoreboard. It's time for all of us to pause and rethink the game plan in order to save the future. I call on all of us to be game changers because greatness isn't reserved only for some people. By buying local, we're choosing to create jobs and sustain the ones we have. Time and time again, South Africans have taken destiny into their own hands, creating products that the rest of the world wanted to buy. See, the world remembers about us, what we sometimes forget. But it's time for change. Let's all buy local.
It's game time.
Zanzi.
Local is lekker.
Your everyday decisions shape our future.
There is no arguing the fact that South Africa needs to lift itself up from a myriad of issues. And for me, unemployment is the most worrying for most of us. The adage, teach a man to fish and he'll have food for the rest of his life, but give him the fish and he'll only have food for today, is where the value of localization sits for me. We have the people, we have the need, but what we actually need now is the will to make it happen, because that's what we're missing. But that's where Minister Patel comes in now, because he's going to explain to us exactly how we are going to be able to give back South Africans their dignity. With that, Minister in the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, Ibrahim Patel.
First, let me say a very warm good evening to all of you. Tonight is the culmination of 2 days of celebration, of partnerships, of celebrating corporations and their output in the South African economy, of the products made by the hands of South African workers. I see many friends, many colleagues, many business representatives here tonight. So I'd like to recognize Nonkululeko Nyembezi, the chair of Business Leadership South Africa, and Busi Mavuso, the CEO. Good to see you again, Busi. I'd like to recognize Ilyas Munache, the president of the Black Business Council, and Hanki Matabane, the CEO. I understand also that Alan Mukoki, the CEO of Saki, is here tonight, as is Kulekani Mate, the CEO designate of Business Unity South Africa. I see also many corporate leaders, CEO of large corporations who have joined us, and leaders from the trade union movement, the leadership of COSATU, of EDUSA, of NACTU. And of course, the leadership of Proudly South African. I've already been given the opportunity to have a handshake with Howard Gabriels, who's been leading this organization for the last 8 years as chairperson, and brought an enormous energy to the campaign with the strong support that he has had from the CEO. Finally, I'd really like to say just how wonderful it is to see again, to see Dr. John Kani, the proudly South African storyteller, with us here tonight. And so I start with a reflection on what Happy said earlier, that this campaign, Proudly South African, was started under the leadership and initiated by Madiba. I recall in 1997, we sat down, I was still in Kusatu at the time, and we raised the idea of a job summit. And the president was delighted with the idea and immediately started to talk about how we could put this together. We went off as Labour, we met with business and community organizations, and a year later in 1998, Madiba called us for a briefing before the summit. And one of the proposals that we had put up, and John, I wanted to raise this, was that we must start a campaign to buy local. We called it a campaign to buy South African. And I recall, as one would with these things, how enthusiastic Madiba was about the idea. And so we put in the Job Summit agreement in 1998, a paragraph or two that talked about this campaign, and we thereafter sat down to see how can we put it forward publicly. And so the idea of calling it Proudly South African arose. Now, Proudly South African is a big heart campaign. It's an affirmation of our nationality that is not xenophobic, that is not chauvinistic, that is a positive assertion, a confident embrace of who we are. I looked up the word proudly. The dictionary will tell you it's a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction in the achievements, the qualities, or the possessions of someone with whom you are closely associated or part of. It may say it's something you associate with that is highly honorable or credible. And so we chose the name Proudly South African to turn it into a broader campaign, not only to buy local, though that is a big part of it, but of a celebration of a new nation that had been formed out of a period of long conflict and yet found each other and found within themselves the strength to construct a constitution and to put forward a vision of a united society. And so when we are celebrating tonight, we're celebrating really this campaign. We're celebrating that worker in an industrial plant in Tshwane that is making components that goes into a Ford motor vehicle, the Ford Ranger bakkie, that is sold all over the world. We're celebrating a young villager in Lubala, in Lusikisiki, who is dependent on an economy that can generate enough resources to provide the education that a young child will have in Lubala. We celebrate a country that is now embracing a whole new set of goals. And it reminds me, a few days ago I was traveling from Johannesburg to Cape Town and I sat next to someone and they said to me, "Can you give me 4 things that I can be proud of about what South Africa is doing in the last 12 months?" And I thought about it and I offered them 5 things that I thought we should be proud of. And I want to share them with you tonight. And the first one I said, I'm only going to start from the 1st of January this year. The first thing that I'm proud of and that I think we can be proud of is that from the 1st of January this year, South Africa gained preferential access to the world's largest tea market, which is China, for South African rooibos tea. That after years when we had a punitive tariff on our teas, We were able to negotiate last year an arrangement with the Chinese government that led them to throw open their market from the 1st of January. And here you have the world's biggest tea market. It's, like they say, selling coal to Newcastle. We are selling tea to China. And I gave them a second, I gave the passenger next to me a second thing. I said, you know, on the 31st of January this year, the president of South Africa, President Ramaphosa, came to the port of Durban, and there was a large ship on the quayside in the dock, and there were products all over displayed. And the president, after doing a walkabout, took a stick and at the symbolic moment, banged an Ingungu drum, signifying the start of trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area. An agreement that now is being supported by 54 African countries, of which 47 have already ratified the agreement, and South Africa joined 11 countries in initiating the start of trade under this free trade agreement. And this free trade agreement is something that should make us enormously proud. And I told this passenger a little story about South Africa. I said, you know, in 950, approximately 950, there was a civilization to the north of Johannesburg, 4 hours drive, on the southern banks of the Limpopo River. It was a civilization called the Mapungubwe civilization. And it was young and old Africans who had there an urban settlement made up of craftspeople who manufactured. They had ironworks and gold works there. It was people who were traders. They traded with China, with India, and with Persia. And 1,000 years ago, they already recognized the value of reaching out to other parts of the world, to trading, to manufacturing, to engaging. And that was before the age of colonialism. And colonialism interrupted that African trade. They traded also with cities on the eastern seaboard, large trading centers, Sofala, Mogadishu. And these were part of an African heritage of trade, trading with each other, moving salt and ivory and gold across the continent. And so colonialism broke apart those economic connections. It directed our trade only to other parts of the world, leaving Africa as the supplier of raw materials to factories and workplaces in other continents. The African Continental Free Trade Area fixes that problem. It asserts the value of us trading with our own neighbors. Only 15% of our own trade is with neighbors today. In Europe, 70% of trade is with neighbors. In Asia, 50% of trade is with neighbors. And so Africa is now rediscovering an appetite to trade with each other, but also to continue to trade with the rest of the world. Remember that tea I spoke about to China. And then I said, my third thing would be that in February this year, an important market opened for South Africa in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia has got one of the biggest markets in the Middle East for red meat. South African companies have been trying for a long time to get into the Saudi market. Following a state visit that the president undertook to Saudi Arabia and sitting down with colleagues and so on, we were able to get an agreement. We were able to get an agreement to throw open the Saudi market to South African meat. And so I gave a fourth reason. I said, 4 weeks ago, Volkswagen Global announced that South Africa will be the sole producer of the Polo vehicle anywhere in the world. We used to be one of the Polo producers. In future, we are now becoming the only Polo producer for markets right across the world. And we join in there the fact that the Mercedes-Benz C-Class vehicle is only produced in Bremen in Germany, in Beijing in China, and in Buffalo City in South Africa. And we join the fact that the Ford Motor Company has put $1 billion in expanding their operations in South Africa, virtually seeking to double production. And in the period of the last 3 years, we've built 10 new factories around the Ford plant in the Tshwane SEZ that is producing components that goes into the Ford vehicle, components made locally by South African hands. And then I ended off and I said, I'll give you my fifth reason, and that is I've just come literally yesterday from a Black Industrialist Conference. And that Black Industrialist Conference was not a talk show in which industrialists were saying what government should do and challenging the actions of one department or the other. It was a celebration. It was a celebration of 1,700 black industrial companies that said to us that they are where they are today because of the democracy, because of the opportunity that had been unlocked in that democracy. And we did a survey of their business, and they generate 183 billion rand in turnover every year that goes into our GDP. They employ 162,000 workers in South Africa. And if you add in the indirect workforce in their supplier industries, it means that their employment footprint expands to 282,000 workers. And that is from a baseline where many did not believe that there was enough traction, enough capability, enough skill, enough support to see the Black Industrialist program thrive. And so those were the 5 things that I offered, and this was in the course of a conversation with someone sitting next to me. And I thought it's worth making those points because in an age where it is easier to be cynical, it is easier to point to our flaws and our problems, many as they are and much as we need to recognize it, it's necessary to point to our strengths too. To recognize the capabilities of a nation that has been through much and that still has a tough set of journeys to go through. And so it is in this context of seeing both our strengths, our resilience, our capability, but also our challenges, that I welcome the comments made by Busi Mavuso that the network challenges we have, which are challenges with energy and challenges with transport logistics, impacts on our localization campaign. That as we find the ability to resolve those challenges, and they are real challenges, they're serious challenges, we are able to do so much more on the localization campaign. And so I take heart from how we're responding to those energy and transport logistic challenges. We put together through the presidency a team of South African business people, South African technical people, engineers and other experts that came on board and said, we lift our hand, we're going to help address the challenges faced in transport logistics and in energy. Just a few days ago, we got the report and the data that shows already in the port of Durban and in the port of Cape Town, the waiting times have decreased. The ship turnaround times have shortened. We should not, through taking comfort of that, lower our gaze and lower our goal, because we need to do even more. South Africa's localization program relies so strongly on effective transport logistics. Think about it. So much of our industrial might is up north, not on the waterway, not on a river that goes to the ocean, not on the coastline. And so transport logistics, road and rail is vital to our competitiveness, to the ability of our companies to succeed. And so when we put all effort in, we are going to be able to create the very platforms in which our localization campaign can thrive. And so I welcome when we are called out on the importance of putting time and effort into these. And I also welcome the support we've had from a number of companies, from people across society. Now, as I make these remarks, I recognize that these remarks were meant to precede my introduction of His Excellency President Ramaphosa. And I was given the brief that I needed to introduce the President. So my remarks were not going to be about the campaign, they were going to be about what the audience may want to hear on the President and his work on the Proudly South African campaign. I have been given the responsibility instead to deliver the speech of the President. And as I drove here, I thought, now how do I introduce myself? And Howard Gabriel said that I am, for a few minutes standing on the stage, I speak with the voice of the President. I regret, Howard, I don't speak with the power of the President. But I would like now, more seriously then, ladies and gentlemen, to say that I have been given the remarks that the President wished to make. The President called me and explained how regretful he is that he's unable to be here this evening in person, and that he wanted his remarks to be conveyed to the audience here tonight. And so please, let me take on a second persona. What you will hear me to say, what I will be saying now will be coming from the mouth of the President. Program directors, Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, Chairperson of Proudly South Africa, Mr. Howard Gabriels, and the Proudly South African Board, CEO of Proudly South African, Mr. Eustace Mashimbi, leaders of organized labor, business, and civil society, members of the Proudly South African campaign. It is a great honor to address this localization dinner organized by Proudly South African, because gathered here this evening are many of the people responsible for building a better South Africa. I am unable to be physically present tonight due to an unavoidable change in schedule. I have asked Minister Ibrahim Patel to deliver my remarks, and I look forward to being with you at your next event. Gathered here tonight are companies who recognize the vital role they can play in building our economy and creating sustainable jobs for our people. They have decided to buy and produce local. And through their efforts, they have found that local is indeed lekker. In 1998, President Nelson Mandela convened a presidential job summit that brought together all social partners, business, government, labor, and civil society, to agree on ways to foster job creation in South Africa. One of the pivotal outcomes of that presidential job summit was the formation of a buy local campaign through NEDLAC. This initiative encouraged businesses, suppliers, the public sector, and other consumers to actively support locally produced goods and services in their procurement decisions. This effort gained greater impetus with the establishment of Proudly South African, tasked with advocating for increased local procurement and consumption. Through this, we have worked to sustain local businesses and safeguard existing jobs while creating new employment opportunities and fostering economic growth. 20 years after the first presidential job summit, we convened another job summit in 2018, where social partners once again affirmed their commitment to localization as a way of ensuring support for investments made in the country. More than 20 large corporates undertook to increase their levels of local procurement in their respective supply and value chains. Over the years, various localization initiatives have resulted in notable achievements. Several large companies working alongside government, labor, and civil society have set and achieved local procurement targets. Last year, these efforts contributed to additional local output, estimated at approximately 40 billion rand. The COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated the extent and depth of South Africa's productive capacity. Critical products that would normally have been imported had to be made in South Africa to meet the urgent needs of our pandemic response. Ladies and gentlemen, economic recovery can only continue with the buy-in and active participation of all sectors of society, especially those companies and entities that have substantial procurement spend. We continue to impress upon procurement officials and decision makers in both the private and public sector the importance of favoring locally made products and services. This represents an opportunity to create new competitive industries on the back of increased demand, driven by deliberate import replacement initiatives. Buying local not only contributes to job creation and economic growth, it also contributes to greater tax revenue, which in turn can be used for the benefit of all citizens. We call on the private sector, in particular, to take stock of industries fighting illegal and sometimes legal imports and support them through local procurement policies and preferential practices. We ask this of every company that has a stake in the future of this country. We appeal to shareholders, to boards, CEOs, CFOs, chief procurement officers, and all other officials in a position to influence purchasing decisions. We continue to urge ordinary South Africans to buy local and help us create much-needed jobs. Through Proudly South African, we are making available the best quality goods and services that consumers across all sectors can trust and buy, knowing that their spend will benefit their own economy. Tonight, as we cast the spotlight on the importance of local procurement and localization, we would like to recognize and express our gratitude to the companies that have become localization champions. These are companies that have walked this journey with us from when we first introduced the first set of localization commitments publicly proclaimed at the 2018 Presidential Job Summit. These companies have set high localization targets for themselves, some informed by sectoral master plans on which they continue to report annually. These companies are pursuing their targets by favoring locally made products over imported goods and services. Some are building additional factories or adding more capacity so that they can make more products locally. Many companies are increasing levels of local content in raw materials and components used for producing their products and rendering their services. Retailers are giving more shelf space to local products. Ladies and gentlemen, the introduction of sectoral master plans and import replacement targets further demonstrates our collective commitment to bolstering domestic manufacturing capacity and supporting industries with competitive advantages. We hope that the recognition that we're giving to companies this evening will encourage those companies that are still to join the buy local movement to introduce preferential policies and practices aimed at putting South Africa first. We are grateful to the entities, including the sponsors, that help make this important summit and expo possible. This is proof of what the public and private sector are capable of when they work together towards a common goal. I thank the Minister and his department for leading the way. I commend the board of Proudly South African, led by Mr. Howard Gabriels and the whole Proudly South African team, for the great work that they have done to revive this vibrant and impactful Buy Local campaign. I join them and millions of South Africans in the call to be proudly South African and to buy local to create jobs. I thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the President forgot to add one paragraph. Since Mr. Gabriels believe I have the power of the President, I am declaring tomorrow a public holiday. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister Ibrahim Patel. Thank you for those kind words. And so we will now have dinner, and we'll be mesmerized by the Johannesburg Orchestra with some lekker and local tunes that they have in store for us. And we will have dinner for about 35 minutes or so, and we shall be back. Thank you so much.
I work with trees. I love trees. Trees is like a baby. We feed them. If a baby is crying, we know that this baby needs food or it needs to bath. It's also like a tree. We decide for them. Should we give it water? Should we give it nutrients? How does it look? Does it look beautiful? Are we satisfied about the tree? Yeah, I love it. I love working with trees.
The Corona Lime Project really started because we did not have in South Africa enough limes to meet the demand of the Coronas being drank. And Corona is best enjoyed with a lime. This is important for the community because the quality of limes that they're growing, this is making them the biggest lime grower in the country. And this is coming out of a small community in Hoedspruit.
The big problem we have is that limes are only really available in the market for about 4 months of the year. So the big challenge for us was how do we get the trees in the orchard to deliver fruit for us throughout the year to make sure there's availability of fruit consistently for the Corona lime ritual.
The good thing about this project is that we are able to control when we want to get the harvest with the different blocks here. Because we do that by controlling how we give the plants water, controlling the weather in partnership with our partners. But the biggest benefit is that the skills are transferred to our own people. I see people benefiting. I see we have created jobs for people, permanent jobs. So this project has done and is continuing to do a lot for our people.
Partnerships in driving change and social impact are so important. SAB really wants the world to know that's who we are and the power that partnership with communities has in driving economic growth.
SAB is not new in this journey. I always say the company in South Africa that understood transformation and empowerment very early in its life was actually SAB. We were finding win-win situations for all.
Finding a job is a dream, and I'm pretty sure that in the next few years, this project is going to employ more people.
The impact of this project has not just given us limes that consumers can enjoy more Coronas, but also seeing how we've uplifted that community. And I think that's very important to us, being a brand that operates in South Africa, that we impact the people who live here.
South Africa ke batho ba bantsi ba ba phassilego ke bana ba bantsi ba tsweletsego le ka degree le ka di-honors ga ba bereke mara ge ke lebelele line e ra re ba ga moletele ba tlo kgwetsa mešomo go yone.
We come in a society where young black women are not given up space. I'm the first woman valve operator at Molitele Lime. Now I'm able to provide, to assist my mom. I'm assisting her then, and I have kids. So I'm supporting my kids through this project. Who knows, maybe one day one of my kids will come and make care. Yeah, because the project is promising, it's growing. It changed my life in a very big way. Now I can able to provide for my family. I get my money through my hard work, through my hands. So it's a huge change for me.
Mama I wanna be there when the people win the battle against AIDS. I wanna lend a hand. I wanna be there for the alcoholic. I wanna be there for the drug addict. I wanna be
Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Let's settle down.
No, because
please take your seats. You know, I am a former high school educator. Don't let the teacher in me come out. Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you very much. On to the most important part of the evening and the entire reason why we're here, and that is the recognition of localization champions. I think for me, we live in a world where we keep talking about why it's important that we need to reward. I think for me, we take the word reward, turn it around, and turn it into the word acknowledge. The more we acknowledge, the more we accept that that's the way we're meant to grow, acknowledging each other. Quick introduction now to the captain of the ship here at Proudly South African. So I did a little bit of digging around to try and figure out who exactly is Eustace, and I can tell you this. Word on the street is that he turns the ship around. Word on the street is that he's a man with a mission, and every single person that I spoke to talks about magic leadership. We all know what it's like to manage. We've all worked under managers, but it's a totally different world when we work under leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to set the scene. The main man, the big mamba, Eustace Mashimbie. Welcome.
I wanna be there for the alcoholic. I wanna be there for the drug addict. I wanna be there for the victims of violence.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister Patel, also known as the President, for tonight, for the 20 minutes you read the President's speech. The Chairperson of the Proudly SA Board, Mr. Howard Gabriels, the Board of Proudly South African, Captains of Industry, Organized Business represented by SACI, which is their President and the CEO here, strategic partners of this event, BLSA, represented by the Chairperson and the CEO, the BBC, represented by the President and the CEO, members of Proudly South African, sponsors of this event, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My role is quite simple. In the President's speech, as delivered this evening, you heard about the commitment that has been made by companies that are part of Corporate South Africa, who have committed to increasing their levels of local content, to increasing their capacity, their manufacturing capacity in terms of what they make in the country. We have committed to holding hands, like the Chairperson said, with all of us as part of the accord that was made back in 2011, Minister, when the local procurement accord was signed, who continue to walk this journey with us of increasing levels of local procurement, of ensuring that localization becomes a reality in the country. And so my role is to introduce these companies as we recognize them. The 17 companies in total who have made commitments. For those of you who were here last year, you recall that there were 25 companies that we celebrated and recognized at the inaugural localization dinner, hosted at the same venue. Tonight, we then added to the list with 17 more companies that are going to be recognized. And we ask, and I feel bad that the Minister is having dinner, but I'm going to ask that he joins me on stage. Oh, he's given me a thumbs up. I feel better. Thank you, Minister. That the Minister joins me on stage to recognize those companies. And I ask that you are accompanied, Minister, by the Chairperson of the Proudly SA Board, Mr. Howard Gabriels, as we recognize these companies. And as we wait for the Minister and the Chairperson to come up on stage, I want to make a plea, and I think I'm happy that I also heard it in the President's speech, that for those of you in Corporate South Africa who might be doing amazing things from a localization perspective, who have not yet officially joined the Buy Local movement, do so. join the campaign, work with us, and ensure that we can add to this list. Let's celebrate you next year. At my table last year, there was a company, the CEO sat with me, and she made a commitment that next year she will be on the stage, because there is a lot of work that they're doing from a localization perspective, and I'm proud to announce that later on, one of these companies, or this specific company, will be recognized. So, without wasting any more time, the first company we're going to recognize today, Honorable Minister, and we ask that their CEO, Mr. Richard Boris Rivet-Kanak, joins us, and this is South African Breweries. Whilst we do that, I must say that SAB boasts a 95% local content, which is very high, and we commend them for that. So well done to SAB. The next company that we're going to recognize for their high levels of local content and their commitment to continue doing so is the public broadcaster, the South African Broadcasting Corporation, represented by the Group Executive for Radio, Ms. Nada Wasela. During the speeches this evening, specifically the speech from the President, there was a mention of sectoral master plans. And this company is one of those champions who, in their specific industry, continues to lead. And for their increased investment in manufacturing capacity and increased levels of local content, including in their retail stores, the next company is TFG, represented by the Managing Director, Mr. Graham Choice. Yes, James, please join us. The next company that we're recognizing tonight is a company that continues to go into areas that are impoverished, that really need the capacity that they're adding, especially from a job creation perspective. Friends of the campaign, and I'm glad that I was a witness to this commitment when they opened their latest factory in Babelegi. Nestle South Africa, represented by the Corporate Communications and Public Affairs Director, Ms. Connie Sitaya. The next company to be recognized is a sleeping giant in our view, and they continue to make waves. And their program includes employing, in the main, the disabled. And we want to acknowledge the contribution that they're making. And the name of the company is Lesco Manufacturing, represented by the CEO, Mr. Jonathan Shapiro. Sticking with the theme of localization impacting the marginalized, the next company has its facilities housed at a small town called Atlantis in the Western Cape, where they remain the majority employer in that town. And this company is Hisense South Africa, represented by the general manager, Mr. Tommy Shun Jiang. The next company to be recognized is a company that has become a new friend of Proudly South African, and they have an amazing story to tell as they reposition themselves in the South African market, especially because of the number of jobs that they continue to create, as well as the products that we consume on a day-to-day basis. And this company is Localisation South Africa, represented by the general manager, Mr. Herman Janse van Rensbeck. At the localization dinner last year, the CEO of BLSA made mention of this company, and we're proud of the fact that despite the challenges that were flagged for us at the event last year, they continue to soldier on and impact their industry, even though they're an upstream player, a lot of impact on the downstream level, a lot of jobs that they are creating, and we're very proud of the association we now have with South 32 Hillside Aluminium, represented by the Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Noel Pillay. I remarked earlier about the CEO who sat next to me and committed to being a part of this campaign going forward. And I'm proud to announce that indeed 12 months later, we appreciate the levels of local content that is going to be driven by this organization in line with their commitment. I would like us to congratulate NASPAS, represented by Ms. Shamila Letswalo, who's standing in for the CEO, Ms. Pulti Mahanyele Dabengwa. Who's the Director of Corporate Affairs and Communications at NASPAS. following them are part of their family and their establishment. And this is another partnership we're proud of because of the impact it is going to have on all of those companies that have a struggle linked to access to markets. And this is Take A Lot Online Pty Ltd, represented by the Group CEO, Mr. Frederick Zitzman. Returning to the fold of Proudly South African for the first time in more than a decade, Minister, and with high levels of local content committed by this organization, we'd like to welcome back to the Buy Local movement, Telkom South Africa, represented by the Group Executive for Innovation, Dr. Maki Jangis. The next recipient has added to the list of commitments that they made last year by increasing the procurement spend that they've earmarked for local procurement purposes. And this company is the headline sponsor for the Buy Local Summit and Expo for this current edition. And this is Absa Group Limited, represented by the Chief Procurement Officer, Mr. Vusifele. Interestingly for us at Proudly South African, this time around, we had a battle of the banks. And next in line is a new commitment coming from FNB, represented by the CEO, FNB Commercial, Mr. Gordon Little. The next company to be recognized is a long-standing member of Proudly South African, and we are very proud of the work that they continue to do in their industry. And this is Actom Pty Ltd, represented by their CEO, Mr. Marvin Naidu. The next company to be recognized is also new to the Buy Local movement, a giant in the packaging industry, and we are glad that they've joined the Proudly South African campaign together with the new commitment they're making. Tetra Pak South Africa, represented by the legal director, Ms. Omisha Moodley. The next recognition goes to a company that has made huge investments in local content, and the number of jobs that they've created remains one of those stories that still needs to be properly told. This is a friend of the campaign, and we're proud of the association we have with the multi-trades group represented by their group CEO, Mr. Calvo Mawela. Last but not least, Minister, this is an industry body which represents a huge procurement spend, and it's a collective commitment made by all organizations affiliated to this industry body, but presented by the General Manager of the Southern African Vehicle Rental and Leasing Association, Mr. Sandile Nsoane. And I'm glad that the president of NAMSA is here, Mr. Billy Tom. They've made a commitment that they're going to buy cars locally for all of their vehicle renting companies. So I'm saying it publicly. And those are the companies. Thank you very much to the Minister and the Chairperson. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause, please. Thank you so much, Minister and Chair and the CEO. Thank you for that session you just did. All right, and now we're closer to the end of the program, and it gives me great pleasure to request that a member of the Proudly South African Board, Mr. Michael Lawrence, makes his way to the stage. He represents the clothing, textile, footwear, leather sector. Let me tell you, he dresses up for board meetings.
Good evening, everyone. Minister, such a joy to have you here. Howard and other fellow board members, distinguished guests, it's an absolute pleasure. Some of you may have a program in front that says, I'm an advocate. That's somebody else. My mother would have been so proud. On behalf of Proudly South African, please allow me to extend to all of you our heartfelt gratitude for your presence, for your gracing us with your presence here this evening. This is not just a special occasion, it's a distinguished occasion, it's a highlight occasion, and we will call it a presidential dinner, even if we do not have our national president here. We understand the challenges of time constraints for him. This evening has, ladies and gentlemen, been a testament to the power of unity, the power of collaboration. We've come together to celebrate localization at its peak. At its peak. That doesn't mean that we have arrived to end, as Nelson Mandela, President Nelson Mandela said, when you have reached the peak, all you will find is that there are in fact more peaks to climb. And as a board of Proudly SA, as a team of our executive, we are committed to finding new peaks with support and of all of you in the way in which you give us your support. Your participation elevates this event to great heights, and we are so honored by your presence. Minister Patel, please will you communicate our thanks to our esteemed President, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa. We are deeply appreciative of his leadership and his dedication to our nation. We are appreciative of his vision that inspires us all. And tonight we ask that you tell him that this is a reminder of great strides that we can achieve together. Please just give him that assurance. We will continue to work together to that common purpose. To our honored guests, distinguished attendees, your unwavering support and commitment is just so commendable. Your presence here tonight signifies not just your belief in our mission, but reinforces the importance of community and camaraderie as we work together to achieve the buy local, especially for the objective of creating local jobs. Minister Patel, sir, to you, we are appreciative of your continued support to our campaign. This has carried the brand, the Proudly South African brand, forward in great leaps and strides, and we appreciate all the contribution you have made with an excellent team you have that you lead to our cause. To our chairperson, Howard Gabriels, Howie, thank you for leading us as passionately as you do, with this great commitment for seeing vision, our team's vision, and supporting it in the way in which you do. Busi, I can't see you, the lights are terrible up here. Busi Mavusa from BRSA, we are so appreciative of the way in which we get to work with BRSA organizations such as yours. The collaboration remains so fruitful. We appreciate that this is going to be one that goes into years to come, along with the organized business community. We thank you. It's a great honor and privilege to be working with an organization as reputable as BRSA, and it's been indeed an enriching experience. And we thank you that you are such a strategic partner for our dinner here this evening. We have some dinner sponsors to thank. They were mentioned earlier: Southern Sun, South African Breweries, Coca-Cola Beverages, South Africa. We don't know where we would be without you. We are so grateful to you for your contributions. And then we've had the great pleasure and privilege of a number of sponsors for our event over the last 2 days, this summit, our Buy Local Summit and Expo. Huge thanks to ABSA, to Sasol, to FNB, to Nestle, to Lactalis, Telkom, South 32, Naspers, Takealot, Brand SA, and GCIS. And then to the members of the media, we are immensely grateful. It's important that South Africans know and understand that there is a passion that is building and building and building and has built over decades. And you are the ones that take the message forward. We appreciate your support. We can never ever take for granted the importance of getting the message out. There are coverage opportunities that impact local businesses, and we certainly are so immensely grateful for this. And we know that one person at a time, we are going to be moving the needle one person at a time, and make sure that the way people think and the way people buy and the way people support local will ensure the job creation and economic development that is our collective objective. Finally, it's my great pleasure always, as Howard always says, we should thank them first, but we end up thanking them last because it just is also a bit of leaving them not just last for best, but because they are just a wonderful team. The Proudly SA team, a lot of people think we have a whole bunch of event organizers and external service providers that put together what you've seen over, some of you over the last few days and what you see here this evening. The truth of the matter is that a lot of the hard work is done by the Proudly SA team itself in-house as a cost-saving exercise and as a commitment to making the money that we get both from government and from our private sector participants go as far as possible. We just want to say as board, we have noticed, we recognize your efforts have ensured smooth execution. Your hard work and attention to detail does not go unnoticed. We are immensely grateful. And then thank you to all of you for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you in our membership campaigns. We look forward to seeing you next year. We look forward to having a queue of people coming up here to receive certificates next year, because we will be having a message to tell next year that says we have climbed even greater heights. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of tonight's event. I must say, Happy, I feel a bit like Cinderella, because tomorrow morning I'll be back in my tackies hitting those streets.
Chasing the crooks.
Chasing the crooks. But I do it because I am proudly South African. I do it because there's no plan B, guys. This is the plan, and we've got to make this plan work. And it's going to take every single one of us.
Yeah. And so over the past 2 days at the Summit and Expo, there were a lot of young people, with great businesses and great IPs, and who were showcasing their products, hopefully benefiting from the matchmaking program we have and all of that. And we just plead to you, South Africa, to do the right thing and procure from these SMEs. The reality in South Africa is that the private sector is not going to be able to absorb every graduate, every person seeking a job into their ecosystem. We simply don't have enough jobs in South Africa, and therefore entrepreneurship, local businesses have to work. We have to support them, because if we don't do that, who's supposed to do it for us? So if you don't procure anything local, consume anything local, support a local business, support a local service, it must start to feel uncomfortable.
And I suppose to a large extent, we're preaching to people who get it.
Yes.
I think the trick here is to try and get that message outside of this room, and that's when it makes a difference. We start building the numbers. On that note, I want to make it clear we were not chosen because of our heights. Yeah,
but the plan comes together. We love it when a plan comes. And by the way, we didn't coordinate our outfits. I didn't know that she's going to go to Otis Cephalo. She didn't know I was doing the same thing. The universe puts you where you ought to be. Exactly.
Thanks so much for being a wonderful audience. You've been great. So a big hand to you guys.
Fantastic.
Drive safe, keep safe.
Yes.
We'll see you next year.
Yes, same time, same place. Buy local to create jobs. Goodbye, everybody.